My name is Michael Fargnoli, and as part of the Campus Rainworks Challenge from the Environmental Protection Agency, my group and I, designed a project to mitigate the quality of stormwater runoff in the Duck Pond Drainage Basin, which is located in State College, Pennsylvania, and is part of some of the most pristine spring waters in all of Pennsylvania. To begin the assignment, we started with a climate analysis, and we projected the climate effects in the next 50 years as it applies to our geographic location. We found that the climate is projected to change by the course of 2060 by 90 days over 90 degrees and an increase of over 10 inches a year of rain. And so to mitigate the effects of climate change, we had to discover this new project that would accommodate these changes and resist the climate changes in general. To begin, we started analyzing the urbanization aspect of the entire watershed, which is Spring Creek, again in the middle of central Pennsylvania. And you can see here that there's an expanding urbanization aspect, especially within the State College region, mostly due to the Penn State University and the students expanding. So to accommodate that expansion, we started to discover these individual components of low-impact development, such as rain gardens and green roofs and cisterns that would hold water underground, keeping it cool until it was actually needed, especially for things in the winter like watering your garden and using it as potable water, really. And so to create this pristine stormwater aspect, we needed to investigate different low-impact development needs, and that involved looking at the entire watershed and the drainage basin as a whole and discovering individual areas that these components could be integrated. And that involved places like streets where bioswales could be integrated and the overall impact of stormwater runoff could be mitigated, along with individual property interventions, which include those things that I just mentioned, like rain gardens. And those can be implemented at a very small scale for a very low budget. And so those were projected over the course of 50 years to eventually lead to a 95% low impact designed drainage basin. So here you can see the overall image of what we would picture State College to look like, and as you can see, it's a lot greener, it's a lot healthier looking, and it's just more inclined to host a larger array of habitat, and thus creating more species diversity and an overall increase in biodiversity throughout the drainage basin. So then we started looking at individual sites, which included the existing duck pond, which is currently, in our opinion, in our state of observation, a mess. Mainly because the drainage pond, as it exists right now, is purely for sedimentation, and it's not nearly big enough to accommodate the large storm events that are frequent enough in State College to be called a typical storm. And this involves a quarter-inch worth of rain over the course of 1,400 acres that this drainage basin encompasses. And so to mitigate these effects, we needed something that would encourage infiltration, but not to the point that it would create sinkholes, which are pretty prevalent in central Pennsylvania because of the karst topography. So we need some limited infiltration, especially on properties and overall throughout the drainage basin. So to mitigate the effects of this stormwater runoff, we had to create this natural wetland because they've been proven to help with mitigating the contaminants within stormwater runoff, decreasing sedimentation overall, and then as I'll explain in a little bit, there's aspects of our design that tackle the thermal pollution aspect of the stormwater runoff. Stormwater runoff in urbanized environments contains a lot of heavy metals, mostly from things like parking lots and streets, and this is just due to the natural disintegration of automobile parts, especially things like tires. And so to mitigate these effects, we began with an overall image of what we could see this place looking like. And for the most part, we've stuck to that image because it's been such a pristine projection of what we would want to see in State College. And so taking you on a journey through our design, the first part involves stormwater draining into the central basin from 3 different locations as it currently exists, but this new location involves a 4-basin solely meant for sedimentation and holds this stormwater runoff prior to ever reaching the downstream Class A trout habitat. After it goes through the sedimentation basin, the top layer of that water is skimmed off through integrated risers within this weir system, which accommodates a flooding aspect and allows the overflow to happen. But these integrated risers accommodate the constant flow of water from the spring and, most importantly, the water that's coming from the nuclear power plant that's acting as a coolant. And so after passing through the sedimentation basin, initially we set up the landscape so that it accommodates natural processes like rill erosion, which starts carving out the land. And over time you can see it eventually carves out something that would be reminiscent of a wetland. And that was one of our huge goals, was the fact that we wanted to create this natural-looking ecosystem within this small part of an urbanized environment. So this last image here shows this wetland it's somewhat similar to an actual wetland. And with that comes all of the benefits of a natural wetland. So it's filtering out contaminants through rhizomatic processes, in addition to the physical obstruction that plants incur upon the sedimentation the sediment that's flowing along the entire site. The last basin involves holding water at a relatively flat slope, where it slowly pours over to continue its journey downstream. And this last area is heavily shaded to mitigate the effects of thermal pollution from the sun. In addition to the stormwater aspect of this site, we've actually integrated an application system that is more conducive to the generational flows of today and modern society. And so people can actually go here and interact with the site and discover the site in a new way through methods that are especially conducive to this our generation. So we imagine this place that can actually mitigate stormwater as a whole, and we believe that what we've designed can actually help State College, and we've done a lot of research behind it to prove so. Thank you for watching. I hope you strongly consider this, and to the rest of you, good luck.